law of production. So see, now we learned about law. We come to learn in detail what are laws of production. So we have two things inside short span. That is, when the production is of a short term, then you have two law of production prevailing. One is law of diminishing returns. Next one is law of variable proportion. Sometimes we can use the same word for both. And when during long run, what is that is law of return to scale. Okay. Here, law of diminishing returns. Here, law of diminishing returns explains that when one or more unit of a variable input are employed on a given quantity of fixed inputs, the total output may initially increase at an increasing rate and then in the constant rate, then eventually in a diminishing rate. So what we have learned in the production function only is been defined inside law of diminishing returns. Okay. In other words, the total output initially increases with an increase in variable input at given quantity of fixed inputs, but it starts decreasing after a point of time. That is what we said in the short span. We can increase when we can vary only the labors. So what we do, we start varying the labors by adding one person in a given span of time. We were able to find out what is the total output. So that is what described inside the law of diminishing returns. And we have some assumptions also inside law of diminishing returns. They are that it assumes that labors as the only variable input while the capital is constant, and it also assumes that labors to be homogeneous. What is the meaning of homogeneous? Homogeneous means each and every performance of labor are the same. Homogeneous means similar. So each and every labor works with the same skill. That is what we say homogeneous. And assumes that state of technology is given. We never change the technology. Technology is the same. And we also assume that input prices are given. So the prices are also the given at a given price. We apply this production function, law of diminishing marginal, the law of diminishing returns. And what is law of returns to scale? What meaning of law of returns to scale is the relationship between variable inputs and outputs when all the inputs or factors are increased in the same proportion. For example, what we do, we never vary only the labor. We also vary the machines. Okay, we add machines or we decrease the machines, or else we vary the capital which we have applied, like that way. So when there is a in the input factors itself, when we start having some combinations of change, then what is the result? That is the law of returns to scale analyzes the effect of scale on the level of output. There are two levels only, large scale as well as small scale. The output would be, see, when you start increasing machinery and when you increase the men to work, labor force also. If we, what is the meaning is, see, what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, as well as organization. You keep the you leave an organization, or else you take organization also. What we do, we keep fixed the land. Okay, we increase the labor, we increase the material of input, and we also do the same thing in two shift. Okay, so that organization is now working under two shift. And what might be the result? There is increased scale of production. So that is what I'm saying here. The law of returns to scale analyzes the effect of scale on the level of output. Here we find out what proportions the output changes when there is proportionate change in the quantities of all the input. So whatever you change in the input, there will be an increase in the output. The answer to this question helps a firm to determine its scale or size in the long run. So everything we start defining inside, whether it is in the short run or whether in the long run. So see, first, increasing returns to scale. What is the meaning of increasing returns to scale? If the output of the firm increases more than in proportion to an equal percentage increase in all inputs, the production is said to exhibit increasing returns to scale. For example, you have increased one labor, you have increased one machinery, and you have increased raw materials also, one share of greater, then what is the result is you get more production. When when it starts with the output of increasing trend, then we say it is an increasing returns to scale. And what is constant returns to scale? Even when all inputs are increased by a certain percentage, the output increases by the same percentage, then we say we feel a constant returns to scale. For example, input is increased, but what happens? There is no change in the output. Then we say it is a constant returns to scale. And somebody is unmuted. Please mute. What is diminishing returns to scale? Here, see, you have increased the input, but you don't get any change, or you get a smaller portion of increase in the outputs. Yes, what do you want to say? Kadiravan? Deepak? Who is that? Shruti? Yes, girls, students, we were talking about the diminishing law of diminishing returns to scale. What is the meaning of that? If a firm increase the inputs by 100%, and the